Thank you for being here. We begin tonight with the West African Examination Council results glitch, which is taking a new turn each day. Now, the examination body has announced a significant upward review in a number of candidates who obtained credit passes in 5 subjects, including English language and mathematics, in a 2025 senior school certificate examination. According to the examination body, 1,239,884 candidates, representing 62.9% of the 1,969,313 candidates who sat for the examination, now have the required credits following a review of the results released earlier in the week. The new figure marks a sharp improvement from the initial 754,545 candidates, or 38.32% earlier recorded as meeting the benchmark for admission into tertiary institutions. The new results show that between Monday, August the 4th and Friday, August the 8th, 2025, a period of 4 days interval, 24.8%, which represents more than 400,000 of the candidates, would have failed without the review. Education consultant Professor Fawehinmi, as well as education researcher Dr. Peter Ogudoro, joins me now for this conversation. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. Dr. Fawehinmi, I'll start with you because we talked about this just the other day. On Monday, 38.32% of candidates had 5 credits, including English and maths, only to have that number increase to 62% in 4 days. Why the rush in the first place? Why didn't Waec delay to be certain before coming out with this result? What is wrong with doing due diligence as against rushing to present results?
Okay, thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me, and thanks again for the opportunity. Your question is very important and very interesting at the same time, because if you say, why did JAM not do due diligence? We know JAM did due diligence. I mean, we know Waec. Waec is a credit.
It doesn't look like that, Professor Fawehinmi. It doesn't look like they did due diligence. If they had done it, it doesn't take 4 days. 4 days. Lives would have been distorted, redirected, if they didn't own up.
Okay, so let's take a systems approach to this conversation, right? What happened during JAM, which is another parastatal under the Federal Ministry of Education, was an exam was done, there were problems, the results was released, there was a lot of shout, and then there was a reversal and an apology. JAM, another parastatal under the Federal Ministry of Education, conducted an exam, released the results, there was some shouting, and then they went back to say, we made a mistake, and then the result changed. So if you take a systems approach to those 2 actions, you will realize that somebody is designing a script that is consistent between these 2 organizations. So it's not a question. So if you look at it as JAM, or if you look at it as Waec, you will not really understand what exactly is playing out. There's a script being played out, and the script is following the same pattern. Let Nigerian students, almost 2 of them, write exams. Ensure you change something before the exams that potentially could lead to risk. Take very high-risk decisions that you might not have tested well, because a question somebody needs to ask is, JAM came out, and JAM was very wise. You know, when JAM came out with the apology, they claimed that they had to adopt a method that a national organization had used. There are many national organizations that do examinations in Nigeria. It could be NAFTEB, it could be NAIB. The one closest to Waec is JAM. So Waec openly said, we were allowed or asked to copy JAM that had a glitch, and we now have a glitch. Now, so the question is not about whether it's a question of there is a script, and the script is being played out. And one of the questions we need to ask ourselves as Nigerians is, what is the objective of the script? Because this is a clear attempt to discredit our examination bodies. Is there an agenda to get some results from all of this? Because by now, any foreigner that looks at JAM and looks at Waec has enough reasons to say these bodies are not credible. Is this a stylish way to introduce another regulator or a private investor in our education system?
Professor Fawehinmi, I think you're sliding to the realm. You're sliding to the realm of conspiracy, or that is not what we're seeing today. What they are saying, we're working with the information that they're giving to us. Whether there is some scrumptious behavior going on, we don't know. What we know for now is what they are saying. So, I mean, when you say things like that, it's almost like you're looking for excuses for them.
No, so think about this from this point of view. The two subjects, the 5 subjects that JAM used to test this new method, on the same day they wrote the exam in Nigeria, they wrote in 4 other countries. Why was the problem only in Nigeria?
I mean, it's a question for them to respond. It is a question for them to respond. Whatever the technicalities are. Okay. Let me bring in Dr. Ogudoro for now. I mean, whatever the challenges were, 400,000 students, their lives could have been redirected in some way by this failure, this mass failure by an organization that should have done due diligence prior to an announcement. It took 4 days for them to come out. Do you agree with Professor Fawehinmi that there is some sort of effort to discredit our examination body with the comparison that he's making that this same exam went on in some other countries, 4 other countries?
Well, the truth we know is that most of the people who participated in designing this system that has given us this result and who supervised the exam and who were in the halls as invigilators and who also served as school principals who provided basic infrastructure that made Waec conduct exams in these places, and who eventually also marked the scripts. They are all, 99% of them are Nigerians. So we may not completely ignore the possibility that there may be some conspirators who are trying to undo Nigeria. But if you do my kind of job as a researcher in this industry, I have been doing this for about 40 years, what you will recognize is that Nigeria hasn't done well in terms of acknowledging that we do have a problem in the education industry. Most of the people who are playing critical roles in the industry, really, no matter the level, right from kindergarten up to up to university level, are people who haven't had the opportunity to acquire the right leadership skills and management skills to be able to run huge systems like the ones we are discussing here. So most of the time, people get basic skills through their university degrees, and we give them very important responsibilities to handle. If you are running a huge organization such as Waec, you have to know that you must make a deliberate effort to ensure that your quality assurance system is robust, and it's not something that people can easily discredit, really. But from what we have seen so far, both JAM and Waec in recent times have, by the way they have behaved, convinced us that they can do better with respect to quality assurance. Because within the space of 4 days, just as you rightly pointed out, coming out to let us know that close to 500,000 lives were involved in terms of people who they told us didn't have credits. That population, here we joke a lot with the people's lives. This population we're looking at here is more than the population of the country called Iceland. It's very close to the population of the country in West Africa here called Cape Verde. It's about 20% of the country called Botswana. We are toying with the lives of young people. Many of them are already harassed by all kinds of economic and social challenges at the moment, and then you bring this to put on their shoulders and on the shoulders of their parents. You are inducing depression, and some of them are already contemplating suicide. We have seen a case where somebody, a young girl, actually committed suicide when the JAM matter came out. So I think that these are problems that we can anticipate. I have consistently made the point that we are not ready for the kind of technology that these examination bodies are insisting on. We haven't got what it takes manpower-wise and infrastructure-wise to go as far as we are going. We have to tread softly so that we don't keep creating avoidable problems.
All right. I think, okay, I was a little distracted with the died by suicide comment. But Professor Fawehinmi, let me come to you and ask, I mean, like most Nigerians, I am personally pained. What should happen now? What should be the response to this, what a lot of persons would say, actually avoidable error that occurred at the expense of the future of this nation? I mean, if you take into cognizance the fact that in less than 24 hours of a prominent figure misbehaving, there was an instant response from the federal government via the Minister of Aviation saying that no fly, demand has been made. Anybody that flies this individual will own up for it, will pay for it, even though that individual has come up to react to it. Do you expect that same energy and response to this fiasco?
Yes, a great question, and thanks again. Let me acknowledge what Dr. Ogudoro has also said. It's important for us to ask the question, when an incident happens the first time, it could be happen chance. If it happens the second time, then you could ask a question. Now, when we had the first incident with JAM, there was no consequence management. There was nobody that we know was publicly reprimanded or suspended or even investigated. Interestingly, what you realized rather was that before the acknowledgement, the minister was commending JAM for saying the exam was the best they have had. So there was a first incident and there was no consequence. Now we have a second incident. Would there be a consequence? I don't know. But if I stand with my earlier assertion, which you decided to call a conspiracy theory, and interestingly, there is nothing bad in conspiracy theories, because conspiracy theories are theories based on events and facts. The only challenge is with the conspiracy theories that you have not yet identified the person, organization responsible for the chain of events. So the point is that we had a bad situation with JAM and we did not mete out any consequence to anyone. And therefore, most likely, now that it has happened again, there may not be any consequence there.
I would want to explore the conversation of consequences, though, but that was not the aim of my question. My question, Prof, was what response, what action do you expect to salvage this? I mean, because like it or not, both JAM and Waec have their reputation in shambles as we speak. So what actions can the government take to show that they are going to make expedited efforts to ensure that this does not happen ever again?
I would say something that may shock you is to ask a basic question: who gave the directions for Waec to change and copy another body? Because Waec has been in existence since forever, right? And they have been doing their things across West Africa. Who gave the instructions for JAM to use the same method a national body was using? Number one, we need to investigate why that person took that decision. Secondly, we need to also ask, why did we not do sampling testing or beta testing, as they call in computer science, with subjects that had fewer students? Why did we select 5 subjects that has a majority of the students? Every student writes English, every student writes math. Why did we try those 2 subjects and biology and economics? Those were the big subjects that had a number of students for a new process you are doing. It's a basic rule of change management that you must try to do what is within your means. Why did we not try a subject that had fewer candidates in case there's a problem we can quickly rectify? We didn't do that. We went to take the classes, the subject that had the mass of students to try what we have not done. Who took that decision and did not consider the fact that we needed to do a test? And finally, when the result came out and they realized that this result was the worst result in the last 10 years, I know the quality of people in Waec. The people in Waec will have been concerned that we have this poor result considering the last 10 years. Who allowed them to go ahead to release the result, despite the fact that it is out of tune for what we have had in the last 10 years. Now, if you cannot identify the who, it is then you can now start saying, what should we have done to ensure that person didn't take that decision? Because all of this that have happened has been series of decisions that were suboptimal decisions. There were decisions that did not follow science or adequate logic, or in the case of decisions that were taken that could have been challenged. So sometimes we think that the problem is the organization. Sometimes the problem is the decision-making process of the organization.
Professor Fawehinmi, we also have Dr. Ogudoro, so I need to give him talk time. Even though what you're saying is very important, I still need to give him some talk time. What I'm getting from what you're submitting is that there is need for a proper investigation, in-depth one, as to what led to these decisions. Dr. Ogudoro, I want to ask you about the students. Like it or not, 4 days ago, these students were thinking that, oh, I'm not good enough, or I must have failed. What did I do wrong? How did I make this mistake? How come I have this result despite all the efforts that I put in? So what kind of conversation should we be having with this young chap who 1 minute were thinking they were not enough, they didn't do enough, only for after 4 days, they now know that actually their effort paid off and they did well?
Well, you have to acknowledge that what we're experiencing is resulting in our young ones and even their parents losing confidence in the entire education system in Nigeria. And all of us are complaining about brain drain. So many Nigerians, especially parents, are beginning to look outside. And what will look like, what we should see as an unintended consequence of this is the fact that Cambridge exam is going to become more popular, IGCSE, which is coming from the UK. So you'll find Nigerian children who are studying here who are likely to prefer to write exams that are coming from outside the country. So SAT, which comes from the US, is going to become more popular. IGCSE coming from the UK will become more popular. And that will make us lose money, and our currency will get devalued the more because all of these exams involve, foreign exchange. And so from every indication, I think we are in a very difficult place. We haven't behaved well, and as Prof was trying to acknowledge, I do sympathize with some of the issues he has raised, really, because if you play in the sector, you will understand that Waec doesn't begin and end everything. All the decisions we see Waec, come out to make it look like they're the ones who are taking the decisions. A lot of those decisions are induced by people who supervise Waec. And we have to try and get close to those people and get them to tread softly. Because this whole idea of insisting, for example, that in 2026, all Waec exams and NECO exams must be done with CBT, we are likely to face very huge challenges.
I mean, this conversation, there's so many dimensions to this conversation, and the short time we have is not enough. So, gentlemen, I want to ask on live television if you would oblige us on Tuesday next week to be on one slot at 5 p.m. to have an extended conversation on the subject of Waec and JAM failure.
I'll be available.
All right.
Okay. I will be available except there is a technical glitch.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.